it. This is the Ark of Covenant. The Ark is commonly called Ark of Covenant. It is also called the Ark of God. It was constructed around 1445 to 1446 BC. And that's according to the Gregorian calendar. On the Hebrew calendar, it was constructed in the years 2315 and 2316 Anno Mundi. And this date, it is approximately the same year of the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. The Ark, it was constructed in the Sinai Desert. God, he instructed Moses on Mount Sinai to build the ark to store the Ten Commandments tablets. Scholars, they believe the ark was designed with the influence of the Egyptians and that it is a copy of the Anubis shrine from the Tutankhamun tomb. The idea that the ark is a direct copy of the Anubis shrine is a popular claim by scholars and critics alike. However, it is a claim that is thoroughly unwarranted. It is a claim not based in historical fact, but based on scholarly bias. There is absolutely no similarity between the Ark of Covenant and the Anubis shrine. The Most High, he said to Moses, "And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." Thus one of the reasons for the Ark is a place for God to dwell among his people. The false god Anubis, with its cult, it does not dwell among the Egyptians, and Anubis, it does not exist. false claim that Moses copied the Egyptians when constructing the ark, this claim, it emerged after 1922. 1922. This is the year when the Caucasian colonizer, Howard Carter, he raided Tutankhamun tomb and stole the Anubis shrine along with other Egyptian artifacts. Nonetheless, the claim did emerge a few years after 1922. As time went on, the claim that the two were similar, it was made by a small group of archaeologists after 1922. But the claim, it was quickly disproven by comparing the dimensions. So how did this false claim emerge again after decades of silence? It was in 2012 when David A. Falk, he resurrected the false claim of copying. He wrote a book titled The Ark of Covenant in its Egyptian Context. From the workings of David A. Falk, the false claim of copying the Egyptians, this claim, it emerged again after decades of silence. David Falk and other scholars, they based their claim on the following assumptions. The first false assumption is that the design and materials used, they are the same. Both are wooden chests overlaid with gold. The second false claim is that both are portable and both have rings on their sides through which poles are inserted for carrying. The third false claim is that both serve as a central holy object representing the presence of a deity or containing sacred objects. These are the assumptions of scholars and critics that falsely conclude Moses copied the Egyptians when constructing the Ark of Covenant. These are the assumptions that have their origin in Scramble for Africa with Howard Carter, Mary Rose Margaret, the British East India Company, and the Rothschilds. The Ark of Covenant, it existed more than 100 years before the Anubis coffin box. Thus, there is absolutely no way Moses could have copied the Egyptians. The Anubis coffin box, it did not exist during the time of Moses. The false god Anubis, it was worshipped during the time of Moses. But the short rectangular coffin box, that did not exist during Moses' time. The Egyptians, they were using the long rectangular coffin box ascribed to Anubis and other false gods of Egypt. The earliest evidence of Anubis depiction on coffins, it dates to the tomb of Tutankhamun. Around the years 1332 to 1323 BC, the use of coffin boxes featuring the false god Anubis, this became widespread around 900 to 700 BC. This means the Anubis shrine, it did not become popular in Egypt until more than 500 to 800 years after Moses and the Hebrews. This further means that there is absolutely no way Moses copied the Egyptians when constructing the Ark of Covenant. The comparison of the Ark of Covenant to the Anubis shrine, it is a nonsense comparison because the Ark of Covenant, it was constructed over 100 years before the Anubis shrine. Nonetheless, as we examine the claims of the critics, we will see that there is absolutely no way possible that Moses copied the Egyptians when constructing the Ark of Covenant. The first claim of critics. It says, the design and materials used are the same. Both are wooden chests overlaid with gold. The materials used for the Ark of Covenant are not the same, except the gold. The Anubis shrine, it is made of cedar wood, but the Ark of Covenant, it was made of acacia wood. There is no similarity, hence the design material, such as the wood, it is not the same. The Hebrews and the Egyptians, they did not use the same type of wood. The use of gold was common among all nations, and the Hebrews and the Egyptians, they used gold in constructing their artifacts, but the difference is in how the gold was used. The Hebrews and the Egyptians, they did not use the gold in the same way. The Anubis shrine, it was made of cedar wood. It was then covered with black resin, stucco, and gold and silver accents. The Anubis shrine, it was not covered all over with gold. Instead, it has gold accents. And the gold accents, these are small pieces of gold leaf used for decorating the coffin box. The gold leaves, they are very thin sheets of gold. On the other hand, the Hebrews, they did not apply gold to the Ark of Covenant the same way as the Egyptians did to the Anubis shrine. The gold used for the Ark of Covenant, it was pure gold. The Ark, it was overlaid with pure gold, inside and out, and the mercy seat, which is the lid, it was made of solid pure gold. The Hebrews, they did not use gold leaves and gold accents. They used hammered gold. Hammered gold, this is gold that has a textured surface created by repeatedly striking the material with a hammer. This was an ancient technique that gives the gold a unique appearance. Thus the Hebrews, in using gold, they had a different technique. They used hammered gold, while the Egyptians, they used gold leaf, which is a thin sheet of gold. The two cherubims that topped the mercy seat were made of hammered gold. The Hebrews, they also used gold molding. Gold molding, it is a decorative border or molding of gold that was placed around the top of the ark. The Anubis shrine, it does not have gold molding on the lid. The poles, it was used to carry the ark. They were made of acacia wood and overlaid with gold, and the rings for the poles, they were made of gold as well. There is no similarity between the Hebrews' use of gold and the Egyptians' use of gold. Both were used in a different way. The Hebrews used hammered gold, and the Egyptians, they used gold leaves. The Egyptians, they used additional material in constructing the Anubis coffin box. They used stucco, which was made of gypsum or lime, mixed with water and other materials like clay, sand, animal and plant fibers for reinforcement. The Hebrews, they did not use stucco when constructing the Ark of Covenant. This is another difference among the materials used. The Egyptians, they also used silver, calcite, and obsidian in constructing the Anubis coffin box. The Anubis coffin box, it has 2 rows of jet and tight, and these are symbols. The jet, this is an Egyptian hieroglyphic symbol representing stability and resurrection. The Titan. This is also called the Knot of Isis. It is an Egyptian symbol associated with protection, and it is associated with the goddess Isis. The Hebrews. They did not use silver, resin, calcite, obsidian, and they did not use jet nor type when constructing the Ark of Covenant. This is more evidence that Moses, he did not copy the Egyptians. Thus there is no similarity between the materials used except the gold. The second false claim of scholars, it says, both are portable and both have rings on their sides through which poles are inserted for carrying. The use of a portable chest was common in Mesopotamia and other areas in Africa. Nations such as Akkad, Sumer, Assyria, Cush, Greece, Macedonia, Persians, Canaanite, Phrygians, Philistines, and many more nations, they all used portable coffin boxes with rings and long poles. This was a common practice among the ancient nations. It was not specific to Egypt, but it predates Egypt. The second claim of scholars, it is not evidence that Moses copied the Egyptians. The third false claim of scholars. This claim is not evidence of Moses copying the Egyptians, because all black nations that were in Africa, they were believers in some form of deity. They all worship a deity. Worshipping a deity as the central figure of a nation, it was not specific to Egypt, but it predates Egypt. And all of the 70 black nations in Africa, they all believe in some type of deity as their central figure of worship. The third claim of scholars, it is not evidence that Moses copied the Egyptians. Moses and the Hebrews, they would have never copied the false gods of Egypt, and this is shown throughout the Torah. Moses, he was sent to Pharaoh to tell Pharaoh to let God's people go so that they can go into the wilderness and worship the true God. Thus there is no similarity, nor copying here. The ancient Hebrews did not use coffin boxes for burial. They buried their dead in caves or rock-hewn out tombs. Joseph, he was a vizier, and he followed Egyptian customs. The Hebrews, they never used coffins in their burials while they were in Egypt and after leaving Egypt. And this Hebrew custom, it is evident that the Hebrews would not use a coffin box in worship of their God. The Hebrew God, he is God of the living, not God of the dead. And the Hebrews, they considered the Egyptians as heathens because of their polytheistic beliefs and practices, which included the Anubis shrine coffin box. In the Torah, there are two Hebrew words used in reference to the ark. In Exodus 25 verse 8, it says, "And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." In Exodus 25 verse 10, it says, "And they shall make an ark of shittim wood." In Exodus 25 verse 8, the Hebrew word for sanctuary is the shin, kaf, and nun. And this refers to the ark. In Exodus 25 verse 10, the Hebrew word for the ark is the aleph, resh, wah, and nun. In Exodus 25 verse 8, the Hebrew word shekin, it is used in reference to the ark. In Exodus chapter 25 verse 10, the Hebrew word aron, this is used in reference to the ark. The ark, it is a sanctuary, and the sanctuary is an ark. This is vastly different from the Anubis shrine. The English word sanctuary is the Hebrew word shekin, which consists of the shin, kaf, and nun. The shin, this means consuming, and this is a reference to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 24, which says, "For the Lord your God is a consuming fire." The kaf, this is a pictograph of an open hand, and one of the meanings of an open hand is to reveal, and this is a reference to God, revealing His holiness to His people. The nun, this means continue or continuation, and this refers to God's continuous presence among His people. So the Hebrew word shekin, it means God dwelling among His people. God Himself, He gives the meaning of the Hebrew word shekin when He says, "that I may dwell among them." In Exodus chapter 25 verse 10, the Hebrew word aron, it is used in reference to the ark. This is the Hebrew word that scholars use to make the false claim that Moses copied the Egyptians when constructing the ark. Scholars define the Hebrew word aron as chest or coffin, but this is incorrect. When we look at each meaning of each Hebrew letter, it becomes very clear that the Hebrew word aron, it does not mean chest nor coffin. Scholars and critics alike, they try to define the Hebrew word aron in the context of death. But the Hebrew God, He is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. The Aleph and Resh in the Hebrew word aron, they refer to God. This is seen in the meaning of leader, power, head, highest, and first. The Hebrew letter Wa, this refers to a union or bond between two or more things, and this is seen in the meanings of hook, secure, and add. The nun, this refers to continuation. It is God continually being with His people, hence dwelling with His people. Thus the meaning of the Hebrew word aron. It is also seen in Exodus chapter 25 verse 8, where the Most High says, "And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." God dwelling among His people. This is the meaning of the Hebrew word aron and shekin. The 10th plague. The 10 plagues, they were an attack on the gods of Egypt, including Pharaoh, because Pharaoh, he considered himself a god. The 10th plague, death of the firstborn, it was a direct judgment against Anubis and other Egyptian gods associated with the afterlife, mummification, and the preservation of life. In the Anubis shrine, there is resin that was used. This blackness of the jackal, this is the black resin all over the body. of the jackal. The Anubis shrine, there's a lot of gold leaves accents. These are the gold leaf accents on the ears and the collar of the jackal. And this jackal, on the paws of the jackal, there are silver accents. All of this is different from the Ark of Covenant. The Anubis shrine, it also contains calcite and obsidian. And these are different minerals that the Egyptians used in constructing this Anubis shrine, this false god, this jackal of the Anubis shrine. And so there's the resin, calcite, obsidian, gold leaf accents, silver leaf accents. All these things are part of the Anubis shrine that we do not find with the Ark of Covenant. Another thing the Anubis shrine has that the Ark of Covenant does not have is the Jed and Tite. This is Jed, and this one over here, this is the same thing as Tite. Both of these are Egyptian symbols that represents a false god of Egypt. This is the Jed, and it is a pillar-like symbol that represents stability, power, and it's supposed to be the backbone of the false god Osiris. The Ark of Covenant, it does not have any of these symbols, or any symbols similar to these. The other symbol is the Tite, and it is a symbol that was known as the knot of Isis. So each of these symbols, the Jed and Tite, represents a false god. The Jed represents Osiris, and the Tite, this represents Isis. Isis and Osiris are not found on the Ark of Covenant. The Ark of Covenant, it does not represent nor show any type of image of a god. The Anubis shrine, it shows images of several false gods. The jackal, this is a false god, Anubis. And that's one image. The other image is the Jed, representing Osiris, and the Tite representing Isis. And so these are evidence that Moses did not copy the Egyptians, because the Ark of Covenant, it does not have any image of a god. And this is in keeping with the commandments that the Most High gave the Hebrews. The cherubims, these are not gods, these are angels that were constructed. This is the gold. This is the hammered gold, and also the gold molding on the ark. And when we look at the Anubis shrine, we don't see any of that. No hammered gold, no gold molding on the lid. On the lid of the Anubis shrine, there's a false god, Anubis, in the form of a jackal. On the lid of the Ark of Covenant, there is no god, no image of a god. Between these two cherubims is the mercy seat. Some archaeologists and scholars and critics alike, they try to put and force a mercy seat on the Anubis shrine, but the Anubis shrine was never constructed with a mercy seat. And the whole idea, concept, and understanding of a mercy seat, it is specific to Hebrews and Hebrews only. Only the Hebrews had the understanding of a mercy seat on an ark that is specific only to the Hebrews, the Israelites. No other nation had that concept. Now this is a replica of the Ark of Covenant. The actual Ark, it did not have this design here. The sides were plain and gold covered with pure gold. On the Ark, on the Anubis shrine, the coffin box, we have two rows. This is one row and this is another row. Both rows are filled with the tight and jet. The tight here, 1 and 2 tights and 2 jets. With the Anubis shrine, there are 3 false gods represented in this Anubis coffin box. And these are just a few differences between the Ark of Covenant and the Anubis shrine. The Ark of Covenant, it was made of acacia wood. The Anubis shrine is made of cedar wood. The Ark of Covenant, both of these use gold, but they were used in a different way. The Ark of Covenant used hammered gold, and the Anubis shrine used gold leaves. Around the lid of the Ark of Covenant is gold molding. On the jackal of the Anubis shrine, you find gold and silver accents. These are not the same. One of the things that scholars fail to mention, and they do this purposely, is the date. The date is very important. The date of the construction of the Ark of Covenant and the date of the construction of the Anubis shrine. The Ark of Covenant, it was constructed over 100 years before the Anubis shrine. That means Moses did not and could not copy the Anubis shrine. Careful examination of the Ark of Covenant and comparing it to the Anubis shrine coffin box, it is very clear that Moses did not copy the Anubis shrine. These are two different arks. This is the Ark of Covenant. This is a coffin box. The Ark of Covenant is not a coffin. This is a coffin box for the dead. This is an ark for the living God. This does not represent death. This is a representation of death. This is a representation of life, of the living God that reveals himself to his people.